Hello everyone. Okay, just a short video on the where clause at the end of step 5 in lab 5. Okay, just to show you how to do that. All right, I'm going to share my screen. Okay, and we will get into that. Okay. Now you can add a where clause to the following query. The where clause should check whether the current effective salary date is within minus 60 days of today and today. Okay, so what's going on? So the first query, which is exactly the same but without the where clause, management asked us to produce a report showing the average salary by department for all the employees. Okay, so now what management has asked for is all of the employees who have been hired, who have a start date within the last 60 days. Okay, now let's look at those. So within the last 60 days, including today, and average salary by department for those employees. Okay, so that's the report we're trying to produce. So we have the where clause to filter so that we get just the employees who have an effective start date within the last 60 days. Okay, so how do we do that? So the way I do this, I just take what the instructions have here, and I'm going to go to my code here, my SQL file, and just build that query. So where the start date is within the last 60 days means it needs to be between, and we know we have a between clause, between 60 days ago and through today. Okay? That's the filter we want. So now let's see how we do this. Okay, so where start date. So how do we represent what the start date? So we come back to our instructions here, and the start date is the effective start date. And where is that? Okay, so we can go to SQL Plus here. Let's just start up SQL Plus and do a describe, and we've got the employee table in this query up here. So we have the employee table, the department table, and the salary table. Okay, so we could describe any of those three to try to find the effective start date, but I know that it's in the salary table, so we'll do describe salary, and here is the effective start date. Okay, and we can see how it's spelled there, and come back to our code here. And so we'll say where effective start date is between 60 days ago through today. And effective start date is in the salary table, and salary has an alias of S. So we qualify effective start date with an S dot effective start date. Okay, it's between 60 days ago through today. Okay, now between, now I capitalize that because between is an Oracle keyword clause, right, for doing comparisons. And when we say between, there's no is, so I'm going to take out the is. So where S dot effective start date between 60 days ago through today. All right, how do we represent 60 days ago? Let's go back to our lab instructions. And here we have some hints on how to represent dates here. So first bullet, a day 30 days ago would be trunk sysdate minus 30. Okay, so that looks useful. Now, trunk sysdate, what is that? So sysdate is today's date. And trunk sysdate will truncate the date to year, month, day. And it will strip off hours, minutes, seconds. Okay, we don't care about hours, minutes, seconds. So that's why we use the trunk sysdate that will give us year, month, day. Okay, so trunk sysdate is today. Trunk sysdate minus 30 is 30 days ago. We need 60 days ago. So we'll come back to our code and we'll say trunk sysdate minus 60. Okay, and that gives us 60 days ago. Okay, through today. Through today, how do we represent that? Let's go back to our instructions. Okay, yesterday would be trunk sysdate minus 1. Today would be trunk sysdate when measuring a date between today and some arbitrary date. Today would be trunk sysdate plus 1 when measuring a date between some arbitrary date in the past. And today, including today, because today runs until the start of tomorrow. And that's what we want. We want to include today. And so here it is then. Trunk sysdate plus 1 represents through today. Okay, so back to our code here. Through today is trunk sysdate plus 1. Okay, and the between clause has an and in it, and we will capitalize that per our convention, coding conventions here. And so we have between trunk sysdate minus 60 and trunk sysdate plus 1, which represents 60 days in the past up and through today. Okay, so here we have it. Now, we need to take into account another consideration. Okay, he says here, when a null value may exist for any effective start date column, you should wrap that column value in an NVL function column. Okay, so there might be effective start dates that are null, and Oracle can't compare a null with a, is this null between 60 days in the past and today? That's an invalid comparison. So we have to give Oracle a valid date to compare to that date range. Okay, so how do we do that? So first of all, let's wrap that column value, the effective start date, in an NVL function. Okay, back to the instructions, and how do we do that? And you can look up the syntax for that. And we do that by going NVL, open paren, and we're going to move that close paren out here. The NVL function has the column name that you're looking for null values, and then a comma, and then some other value, the replacement value, and then a closed parentheses. Okay, so now we have it wrapped here, but what we need to put right in here is the replacement value. Okay, so if the effective start date is not null, then Oracle will use the effective start date. That's what we want. If the effective start date is null, then what value do we want to give Oracle to put into this comparison? because we really don't want, if it's a null effective start date, it's not in our range. We want Oracle to throw it out. Okay, so let's go back to our instructions here, and it says you should use a value outside of the planned range when a null value is found in the effective start date column, like the day after tomorrow. Okay, so today is in the range. We don't want to use that. And but so if tomorrow is sysdate +1, then what is day after tomorrow? That would be sysdate +2, right? And it's down here. Tomorrow start at trunk sysdate +1 and ends at trunk sysdate +2. So day after tomorrow, we can use trunk sysdate +2, and so we'll do that, and that will put it out of range for the comparison. Trunk sysdate +2. Okay, so what will Oracle do here? It'll look at the effective start date. If it is not null, it uses the effective start date and says, is this start date between 60 days in the past through today? If the effective start date is null, then substitute the null value for trunk sysdate +2 day after tomorrow, and then do the comparison. Is day after tomorrow between 60 days in the past through today? No, it's not, and it will get thrown out. That's what we want it to do. Okay, so there we have our where clause. So I'll take out the comments, and now just save that, run that, verify that it runs correctly. Now, what result should you get? He says here, the query should return the same average salaries in whole dollars when it was run without a where clause. So you'll get exactly the same numbers. Now, your numbers will be different than these numbers here, so that's okay. But they should be exactly the same numbers that you got in the first query with the where clause. Okay, and why is that? We can actually go and look and explain why the two results will be the same by doing a select star from salary semicolon, and we see that there are 5 effective start dates, 5 rows for salary IDs, 5 effective start dates. They're all the 1st of May of 2018, so they're all within the last 60 days, and none of them are null. Okay, so all of our employees will be pointing at one of these 5 salary rows, and therefore, right, all of these salaries fit that criteria of not null and between the last 60 days through today. Okay. All right. So that concludes the where clause. Okay. Save it, run it, and make sure everything runs correctly for you. Okay. All right. I'll go ahead and end the video.